Hello Power Rangers Lightning Collection fans, and today we are taking a look at the Lightning Collection Monsters Wave 1. Now this is the brand new subline in the Lightning Collection that was announced at Hasbro PulseCon back in September, and it is going to be focusing on Monsters of the Week. And to start off, we have two monsters from Mighty Morphin, King Sphinx and Pumpkin Wrapper. King Sphinx is one of the first monsters in the show and was featured heavily in the initial marketing for it back in 1993. And Pumpkin Wrapper is an iconic Ju 2 footage monster from MMPR Season 1, so these are really cool choices for this new subline. Now these do cost $30 each, so they are $10 more than the usual Lightning Collection figure, and I did get mine at Big Bad Toy Store since they put them up early instead of the January 1st release that Hasbro had announced. So of course, like I said, we have King Sphinx and Pumpkin Wrapper. Now these are also available in Target exclusive Spectrum packaging if you want the special black box with the foil on it, very similar to Wave 7 who had Spectrum boxes. So if you want a box that looks like this for these, you can get that at Targets exclusively. But let's take a look at them real quick before we open them. So of course you have King Sphinx here with his effect piece, which is like this question mark thing, which is really cool. You have his gigantic wings. You have the artwork by Tom Whalen. On the side you get the Mighty Morphin logo, and that again, you get the typical 3D render that we see on the back of any Lightning Collection figure, and the full artwork there. So that looks fantastic. If you are curious, these are the same size as the Zordon and Alpha 5 2-pack from Walmart, so if you have that, that's a good scale. And then of course, here's how they scale with a typical Lightning Collection figure, in this case the Z-Putty, so they are obviously longer boxes than that, so which makes sense. And then at the top, it's just all solid kind of turquoise. And then on the bottom, all the safety stuff. And there is his barcode if you need that. So that is King Sphinx. And then Pumpkin Wrapper, which is probably the one I'm the most excited for, has his effect piece up there, the Tom Whalen box art. You get the 3 pumpkin accessories that he comes with, the little like rope thing that he comes with in his hands. And then there's his side. The other side, the 3D render, it's all orange at the top, and then of course you get his safety stuff, and there's his barcode if you need that one. Alright, so here they are out of box, and as you can see, we have a lot of stuff here. So they are, more money of course, and they are bigger figures, so you would expect them to come with a lot more stuff, and they definitely do. So here's all of King Sphinx's accessories right out of the box, and all of Pumpkin Wrapper's right out of the box. So we're going to take a look at King Sphinx first. So to start, we have King Sphinx, and he is a big figure. So first of all, he comes with these giant wings, of course, and you of course will attach them onto the back, basically exactly how you would with Goldar from the GameStop exclusive, or the little wing niblets from Wave 6. So if we take him off of the Hasbro Pulse stand here, on the back he has 2 pretty distinct peg holes for the wings, so I don't think it necessarily matters which side goes where, but they just peg in. There's a slight, or they just fall off, that works too. So just kind of push them in there to make sure that they actually stay as I bump the camera there. Wow, okay, this is going so well. Alright, so that is King Sphinx with the wings on. And that completes the look. So you're definitely going to want to put them on there, but you can leave them off if you want. So King Sphinx is very nicely detailed. He has the Egyptian hieroglyphics on his chest, and that one just eye sitting there. And he's very nicely painted until you get to the head. So people have definitely complained about this, and I get it, where he doesn't have black paint on his nose, or especially in his mouth. So his mouth is just this big gap that is the same color as the rest of his face, which is definitely weird. But that's something you can just fix with like a Sharpie or something if it really bothers you that much. It doesn't bother me all that much, and also I don't like to modify the figures, so I just keep them as is. But I could see why that could bother some people. He also has really nice molding on his shoulder pads and everything too. He's sculpted perfectly, even if he is a little big. But articulation, before we get to that, he also has this nice slight green shade going on in some places, which is Really nice. It looks better in person, but it does look good. But they do, even though this is definitely a bigger figure, he does share the same articulation points as a typical Lightning figure. So his head is on a ball joint, so it can basically go everywhere, except it does get in the way with the rest of his like head gear that he has. And of course, you can move his arms all around. You can move them there. They turn here. There is a butterfly joint in there, although it's really hard to see it, but it's in there. Of course, he can bend at the elbow, double joint bend there. And then the hand can move, and the hand has a hinge there, so you can push it back and forth. And then his chest can rotate there. It can bend at the waist. And then his legs can turn at the bicep up there. Or not the bicep, the thigh up there. And then double jointed knees. And his foot can go everywhere, ankle pivot, all that stuff. He actually has a little bit of extra articulation on the back. The wings can move up and down. They can fall off. These are not staying in very well. I don't know if I'm just doing something wrong with that or what, but they do have a hinge to move like that. And then even his tail. His tail is on this little kind of a ball joint. It can go all over the place. So that's kind of nice. I like that. But, I mean, basically typical standard articulation from any normal Lightning Collection figure, which makes sense. But taking a look at his different accessories, he does have his Sphinx, oh I know this, it's his Sphinx scepter, I think is what it was called, something like that, which is very nicely detailed. It looks like a question mark there at the top, very simple blue and everything. And then you get this special exclusive new effect piece that has a bunch of question marks all over it, so you can do something like that, just kind of hook it around, you know, the best you can. It's whatever, however you want it, it kind of gets stuck in there, sort of, but you know, a Lightning Collection effect pieces are always just however you want to finagle it around and make it work. And of course, he comes with some hands. So he has this right hand that's like sort of open. And then he has a left-handed fist in contrast to what he comes with, which is this kind of splayed open left hand and right hand. So I'm assuming you can basically just use either one of them to put his Sphinx scepter into his hand, sort of. Lightning Collection hands can be tricky. And there you go, turn that around. And that is King Sphinx with his Sphinx scepter. So, that looks pretty good. Now, let's take a comparison to how he looks with other Lightning Collection figures. So when Hasbro announced these figures, they said the monsters were going to be bigger. These are 8-inch figures when Lightning Collection figures are typically 6-inch. And in the show, King Sphinx is about the size of a Ranger, and this figure is just not really the case. So here is Mighty Morphin Red from Wave 3. As you can see, definitely King Sphinx towers over him, but, you know, monsters should be a little bit bigger than the Rangers, but I just feel like this is too big. And then, especially this is seen because in the episode itself, when King Sphinx grows big at the end to fight the Megazord, he grows big alongside Goldar. So while it makes sense to be a little bit more bigger than the Rangers, I would suppose, it's very clear from the episode that Goldar and King Sphinx are basically head-to-head same height. And since we have Goldar in the regular Lightning Collection, you can show that he's not the same height. It's not, like, horrible. It's not horrible. But it makes it look like this isn't really even in the same figure line. Like, Goldar and Red Ranger are the same height. So that's cool. But King Sphinx is just too big. And I wish that he was a little bit more scaled down to make, like 7 inches probably wouldn't have been too bad. 8 inches I think is a little much. So next up we have Pumpkin Wrapper from towards the middle to end half of Season 1. So I personally think that he's the real star of this Monsters Wave 1. He comes with a lot of really cool things, so we'll discuss his accessories real quick. He comes with these ropes for him to hold. So you get like this little small one and you get this bigger one to kind of wrap around. It's also to work alongside the effect pieces, so you can do some finagling to make that work, especially with the pumpkins. So these are his main two like little weapons. Speaking of the effect piece, you get this big green solid plastic effect piece. This is very similar to the like big green solid lightning effect pieces that came with the PulseCon exclusive Lord Draken Evolution 3. It reminds me a lot of those. But it's just like the solid plastic, so it's not as like rubbery as typical effect pieces. And this is kind of used to have him levitate a pumpkin, as we'll see. And speaking of the pumpkins, we do have 3 of them here. So the pumpkins are really cool. It's a really cool inclusion. You did get 3. They're basically all the exact same. There might be like slight differences. I think they're basically the exact same. But they do come with a ball joint peg at the bottom. So that way, if you remember in the episode, he would like throw pumpkins onto the ranger heads and they would run around. It's a gif that you see on the internet a lot. And also he would throw them on a little like troop of putties as well to have pumpkin-headed putties. And you can do that. So all 3 of them have a ball joint at the bottom. So you can peg them onto the helmets or the heads of the rangers or the putties or whoever you want. Just like you would swap to do the civilian heads. So that's really, really cool that they included that. I think it's interesting because it's like basically they're including an accessory that has a feature that can be used with other figures on the line, but specifically for that purpose. So it's almost like you're buying a figure that has an add-on to another figure. So that's interesting. And then his hands are nothing crazy. You just get a kind of splayed open hand, which isn't really focusing very well. There we go. You get this like splayed open hand, and you get just a fist. So nothing too crazy here. But let's look at the figure itself. So pumpkin wrapper here basically has the same, I feel like it's almost the same height as a regular ranger body. He's very top heavy, if that wasn't clear by the gigantic pumpkin head. But he has a lot of really cool sculpting. Wow, he's really top heavy. I won't really go over the articulation because it is basically the same as King Sphinx's is, but you know, it is really cool, all the sculpting here with all the vines and everything, especially this one that like extends off of his chest. And then you get this whole like pumpkin texture around his entire body, which is really neat. And then of course the head is the main event here, where it has a bit of a black wash to it, and it does look pretty good all around. I know some people were complaining that these aren't painted in. I personally think it's fine, because some people say that the triangles and the mouth should be black. I disagree. It's really just shadows in the show that make that kind of look, so it's not actually supposed to be black in there. Tom's box art shows it black because they just needed to define it on the box, but this is accurate. Articulation for his head, though, his head is just on a typical Lightning Collection ball joint in there somewhere, so it can move all over the place. Alongside the normal chest rotation and everything. This piece is like a collar piece on top of that, and then you have this whole head. So it can move all over the place, and it kind of ratchets a little bit. And it looks really good. So I am definitely a fan of that. So let's get him into some kind of pose using his ropes and pumpkins. So there we go, we can kind of attempt something like that. So basically that effect piece just wraps around his arm, and then you just kind of put a pumpkin there or something. That's a really good effect piece for just any figure, really, to kind of just wrap around an arm and kind of have some kind of, you could maybe try to balance a ranger helmet in there, or some kind of a weapon or something. I think it'd be good for like maybe Draken or some other villain, or whatever. I think it's a really cool effect piece just to have in the line. Overall, this figure is really cool. I am a fan of the pumpkin wrapper figure a lot more than the King Sphinx figure. Not that the King Sphinx figure is bad, I just think this is cooler. And also, I think I am a little worried. I am a little worried about the weight of this figure. There is a lot of weight going on with the pumpkin, especially when you're trying to do the effect piece here. So I just feel like it's a lot of weight to put onto those feet hinges down there, or on the legs in general. So I do worry about the long-term effects of that on these joints. So hopefully they don't, break down over time too badly. All right, so let's take the head off of Jason here, just like you would if you were swapping the heads. This is going to be my first time putting the pumpkin on, so we'll see how this goes. So it should just peg in there. Alright, that wasn't too bad. It wasn't too hard. So, that is a pumpkin on a ranger head, which looks pretty fun. And then, of course, the other thing that he put pumpkins onto were putties. So we can just pop the head of a putty off and take the other pumpkin. Once again, any of the pumpkins that he comes with will work. And then just kind of line this up. Alright, there we go. So we got pumpkin putties, we got pumpkin rangers, and that looks fun. Of course, pumpkin wrapper does tower over the figures just like King Sphinx does, but they're basically shoulder level. you know, with a typical figure in comparison to King Sphinx. And then I would say his head being bigger, I feel like this works better, Pumpkin Wrapper, in comparison to King Sphinx. He's still, I mean, Goldar, we bring him in, definitely still towers over Goldar. But, you know, it's like, King Sphinx, I think, doesn't really work. Pumpkin Wrapper does a little bit better, so I would personally say that Pumpkin Wrapper is the winner of this wave. So finally, I would say that this is a pretty fun first outing for the Lightning Collection Monsters line. These are two really great choices. They're iconic monsters. Once again, I do think they are too big, but you know, it's not horrible, especially once you have them in hand. And if you're doing fighting poses and everything, you're not going to necessarily see the difference in the scale all that much, I would say. I don't think it's too horrible when you have them in motion. So these I can highly recommend. If you like having more villains for your Rangers to fight, these of course are perfect to also go alongside like Rita and Zed and Putties, especially if you want to make some pumpkin putties. And I can't wait to hope to see this line continue. I would love to see more monsters, especially more non-Mighty Morphin monsters would be great too. But these are both very fun, and you should be able to find them at stores all over the place. Once again, Target does have exclusive box variants of them in the Spectrum series, so you can go that route if you want to get a collectible packaging. But you also can pre-order them on Hasbro Pulse and Amazon and all that other stuff, and these should be more readily available for the next couple of weeks. So they are fun. I do recommend them. So until next time, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this video review of the monsters from the Lightning Collection Wave 1. You can check out other Lightning Collection related content on my channel with Lightning Library every Wednesday and Lightning Storm every Saturday. And you can follow me on Twitter at two different places, at Living Ranger Key or at LightningFigPR. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe on this video to see more Lightning Collection and Tokusatsu content all the time on the channel. And until next time, everyone, I'll see you on Toku Topics and Lightning forever.